Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module tutor for module leader for TECH2. Start again. Hi, it's Rob Watson, module leader for TECH1502 Introduction to Community Media. And this is a brief overview for the topics that we'll cover in the lecture 20, which is the lecture that follows the enhancement week. The idea for this lecture is to go do some preparation work about the last assignment that you're going to be working on, coursework assignment, which is your critical report, which is your academic report about community media. So what I thought I'd do is take you through some of the issues about reflexive and critical thinking. Now, these are kind of very, can be mapped out and talked about in quite technical way by academics and people in universities, but I want to try and make it as accessible as I can and look at some examples. But our starting point is to think about the kind of skills and literacies, the know-how that we might need to engage with media and community media more generally. We live in a world where the skills, the kind of type of media and the type of way that we share and exchange and circulate media and understand media is changing quite rapidly. So what gives us a sense of confidence that we're approaching this in a way where we're asking the right questions about it? What gives us the kind of sense of confidence that we are being creative in the approach that we take to asking these questions? Are we evaluating and putting out a framework of evaluation, if you like, which stands up to scrutiny, which is something that we can engage in not just between ourselves, but also internationally with other people who work in different communities and different kinds of cultures and different societies with different systems. What is it that we can offer as a snapshot view of our present experience, which might be of interest to other people in other places? So the meanings that we think about are local, and they're derived, if I get the words right, through our local experience and through the interactions that we have with other people, and we generate a sense of engagement through our practices and accomplishments. So how can we put that into a kind of framework, a questioning framework where we're asking the right questions about these things? So there's a kind of a good way to kind of look for kind of rules and structures. Are we putting forward reasonable? Are we planning reasonable conclusions? I mean, I know it sounds odd to kind of say that at the beginning, but our objective should be to offer something that is well thought through and well rounded. It has something which is goes beyond, if you like, just drawing on automatic routines of daily life where we don't really think about things, we just take them for granted. But we shift and change our perspective based on as our knowledge changes. So that whole idea of, if you like, how if you only ever think the same way, you'll only ever end up with the same kind of things that you've had in the past. How can we demonstrate that our thinking, when we change our thinking, is something which is provides us with new opportunities and new ways of looking at the world, which enhance where we are and what we have. So the idea is to think that there's kind of competing systems of knowledge. I had a great phrase the other day in terms of calling them reality tunnels, and that we live within a kind of a perspective that we create along with other people, a kind of tunnel of reality, and that our job is to kind of step back from that and analyse that reality tunnel. I won't talk about that in detail, but it's a good thing to focus on at some point. And our primary way of doing this has been to do it through our blogs and to do it through the reflexive writing, where we're thinking about our own practice. So we form a community of thinkers, a community of ideas, and a community of questions. So we're doing collaborative thinking. How does that change? How does that level of reflection impact on what we think is suitable for our media engagement in the future? How do we draw on our knowledge and understanding? How do we draw on our experience and our practice? What are the kind of sense-making stories that we tell and that other people tell that help us to learn and become a member of a community that understands what the task is at hand, what the needs are that have to be addressed? We might phrase this as a kind of a sense of a disposition. That's a kind of a stance, a way of looking at things. We're not not setting down rules. We're just saying that if you want to be successful in thinking your way through some of these problems, then you've got to be critical in a particular way. But it's a kind of form of critical thinking which is open and flexible. Because what we really want to do is we want to approach problems and we want to take on some opportunities to do things differently, which are drawn from our kind of reflexive judgment and our reflexive practice. Because in the process, if we're asking the right questions, then we can bring other people along with us, and we can create something new where before, and we can see how different media has changed in the last 10 years, where we're moving away from we're clearly moving away from the broadcast and transmission model, and we're moving towards a more kind of dispersed, generative form of media, which is kind of encapsulated with a lot of social media, but it's a clearly different world than the one before. So how do we get our head around that? So that's kind of broad sense of what we'll cover in the lecture. It's quite conceptual, but I'll try and make it as accessible as I can with the examples and the slides that we've got available. There is some reading, which is it's an article I found about critical thinking. I'll just bring it up so I find out who it is. There's a link to it on the DMU Commons wiki, which is at wiki.hour.dmu.ac.uk, and it's oh no, it's not. Sorry, the chat. It's the Kevin Howley book, chapter 2, tracing the global through the local. There we go. I got that completely wrong, so never mind. Anyway, I will see you at the lecture on Tuesday morning.